Erdogan's ascent to the pinnacle of political power really began in 1994 when he ran and won the election for mayor of Istanbul. Then he headed a breakaway from the Islamist party that was banned, which he called the Justice and Development Party, AKP in Turkish, and they won the elections in 2002, partly because of the population's disgust with previous governments that had actually led Turkey into the economic crisis of 2001. He came in as a Democrat and he talked about how he was going to end corruption, he was going to end poverty. He wanted to end the restrictions on the manifestations of religiosity in Turkey, most notably the Islamic headscarf. Erdogan's ability to fuse, or as it were, add the nationalist appeal to his religious appeal has created a very effective formula, which I've called the magic formula for winning elections that, again, worked in this election. And certainly the opinion poll suggested that the economic difficulties, the problems posed by the massive earthquake would actually set the stage for Erdogan's defeat. That did not happen. Paradoxically, it looks as if the people who are suffering from it said things got worse under Erdogan recently. We will rely on him to fix it, instead of going for the alternative, Mr. Kılıçdaroğlu, who might or might not be able to solve them. So they kept faith in Erdogan, not just for other aspects of his policies, but also some blind belief that having overseen an economic decline, he could also oversee its recovery. Outwardly, Turkey is a democracy, and people go to the ballot box, cast their votes, and there is no immediate pressure on them to vote in a certain way, unlike other countries. But the Turkish democratic system is not functioning as well as it has in the past. Mr. Erdogan became increasingly intolerant of criticism within his party, which led to many of the people who embarked on the AKP political adventure with him dropping out, and also opposition. And not just the opposition parties, but opposition voices in the press. Although Mr. Erdogan denies it, Turkey's record of imprisoning journalists is one that I don't think the AKP will be proud of. Turkey is still a NATO ally, but it's increasingly a NATO ally that is at odds with its allies on a number of issues and closer to Russia in many ways. And the question has to be asked, where does Turkey's relationship with Russia go? The development of the close relationship between Russia and Turkey, and the personal relationship between Mr. Erdogan and Mr. Putin, is very interesting. They visited each other many times during the past few years, in contrast to the very few meetings that Mr. Erdogan has had, for example, with Mr. Biden. Particularly when Turkey's NATO allies are backing Ukraine in a war against Russia with massive supplies of arms and money and imposing sanctions on Russia, which Turkey has refused to impose. And there's a genuine fear in the Western capitals that Turkey's assistance to Russia is helping it evade sanctions and may in fact be prolonging the war, because the sanctions were really designed to cripple the Russian economy. It's very difficult for Turkey's Western allies to know how to deal with Mr. Erdogan and the Turkey that he heads. The temptation for Washington and for the European capitals to just focus on a transactional strategic relationship without worrying too much about problems within the country relating to human rights and press. I think that's a short-sighted approach. I think, yes, it's important to maintain a strategic relationship, but it's also important to come to terms with the fact that this is a NATO country. The Atlantic Charter stresses democracy as one of its basic principles. It's an aspirant for EU membership. Turkey is not Russia, and Turkey will return to democratic fold. Even now, it is not a dictatorship or an autocracy in the full sense of the word, although there are problems. I think the West should play the long game and hope that the day will come when Turkey will return to those values.